don't care. All right. Enough of that. Wasted 2 seconds of my life that I wish I got back. And I'm trying to be nice because it's the 4th. Now, let's go to Zander Krause. And let's get like an observer's opinion on what he saw with the greatness of Philly 500. I mean, even with a Kennedy reference, wow. There in Dallas, I mean, he ended it with a big one there. But once again, man, was that a win for Philly 500, or did you kind of slide a little bit with Mark on this one?
Nah, I thought he crushed Mark. Love you, Mark Holmes, but I thought he crushed him there. 500 comes in, man. He lays the hammer down. He knows how to lay the hammer down. He closed out strong, like you mentioned. I thought that was an easy win for Philly 500. I like it because you did the same exercise we did the other day.
Yeah.
So I was kind of playing along like we did in the back when I was producing. Good stuff, though, from them. I appreciate both of them coming on. Like you mentioned to them, it is dope that they do that. They come on here, they give us the content, and they bring the heat every single time. And Mark comes into the Thunderdome, baby. I love it.
Absolutely, man. And I give him 100% love, and that's why I had to give it to him here. Hey, so let's you and I start. I'll tell you one thing, too. By the way, Birds 365 has just been absolutely killing it. But I got to do this to you, man. And I hate to do this to him, but I want you the next time, which will be Monday, that we're back on the air. Do me a favor. I want you to give that John McMullen a reality check for one thing.
All right.
He really believes that Nakobe Dean has more upside than what Devin White does. I mean, based on what?
Well, what's your upside based on with Devin White?
All pro.
Okay, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, 4.3, 4.4, 40. Has played, has actually put 4 years in the league, and he's only 26.
Okay, what's your biggest concern with Jalen Hurts?
My biggest concern with Hurts?
It's 1 year. Devin White did it for 1 year.
But my concern is not that he can't play in the league. My concern with Nakobe is I don't think he can play in the league.
Because Nakobe's never done it. At least Devin has done it at some point.
It may be not here at this level. I don't think Nakobe can play in the NFL. I think Devin can.
I think John's point is that that if you're going to project upside at the linebacker room, which admittedly there's not much of, there's not much of it at all. There's a better chance you get it from your 3rd round pick developing than a guy who's had 4 straight years of some of the shittiest linebacker play you'll ever see with the type of talent he has.
Zander, tell me, man, John did bring this point up that was excellent. And I, why is it that he doesn't care, Howie, about, and you also said, now wait, he did drop a 3rd rounder in there. And that is an equity pick. It's sure anytime you're in the top 3 picks, that's an equity pick. Okay. But why doesn't he? And he cut another guy that was a 3rd rounder a year ago that he picked 2 years ago. That was also a 3rd rounder.
More than 2 years ago. Davion Taylor, is that who you're talking about?
That kid. But
yeah,
why don't they do anything at that? Why don't they do anything at that position?
It's a devaluing of the position, and it's happening a lot across the league. But to John's point, where he's right, is they've taken it too far. You can't be bottom 5 in anything and expect to win Super Bowls. And they just don't. They haven't put any good player there, and it's definitely a concern. I see what you're saying. I'll definitely open up a segment with Johnny Mac next week on Nakobe Dean and where he's thinking this potential is coming from, because I'm basically out on Nakobe Dean. I'm hopeful. But hope is not a strategy. Hope doesn't mean anything other than that I'm a fan and I want the guy to succeed, but I don't know. I don't see it with him. We'll see what we have, but it looks like another shitty year of linebacker play in Philadelphia.
See, that was and again, you're right. The benchmark that I'm going on is not really a great one. I know Devin can play. I don't know the other guy can.
That's fair.
I just don't know. Now, he's not wrong when he goes, well, don't you think, Sills, that there could be a possible high level if all of a sudden he's in this new system with this guy? A lot of ifs and buts, but you can't just shake that off and go, absolutely no way. And I can't, because I think Jordan is going to be a better ball player in this system here. So before we get to my expectations on this defense, I'm not going to do the offense because, Xander, that's too much of a To me, that's a no-brainer. I think everybody's going to – I think even if they don't go far, I think you're going to see really great numbers on that side of the football.
I'm curious to still do it at the end here because I'm curious to hear what you think about what Jalen Hurts is going to do numbers wise, and even AJ Brown. If Dallas got it, I'm still curious to hear your takes on it. I know I did this with Johnny Mack, but we'll do it at the end. We don't have to.
All right. All right. So let me ask you this: over under. This is out of Atlantic City. Over under Hurts 22 touchdown passes.
I think it's got to be over. I know it was 23 last year. It was 22 the year before that. So he's been hovering right around that number. I think the Kellen Moore effect, though, but just based on him being a more pass-happy coordinator, he gets the ball around more. He spreads it out a little bit more. I think he's going to be able to work some of these playmakers in better. I think Hurts is going to have 27, 28 passing touchdowns right in there. So beating that number by a pretty significant margin. But I think he has an increase in the passing game as a whole. And that number is going to go up a little bit from 22, 23. And I think it should go up, especially as he settles into his career and he gets a little bit older. He's not going to be able to rely on the legs inevitably, as he gets older, as he ages. The tush push may or may not work as effectively as it did last year. So we're going to see. I think passing touchdowns are going to go up, though. I got him at 27, like I said, right around that number.
I got him over too. I don't think he's going to be at 22. Barkley rushing yards. Over under 1,265 yards.
What was it? 1,000 what?
265 yards.
On rushing only or all
rushing
purpose?
Only.
Yeah, that's right about where I had him at. I think I'm going to give him the under because I think some of his other yards are going to come in different areas, and I'm not convinced he's going to play 17 games. Now, for the sake of the argument,
that's like 250 carries, between 250 and 265 also in carries to put him up near that number. That takes away from the passing game a bit if they're going to do that also, which they may do early in the year.
Yeah, it is interesting how Vegas's numbers for Jalen Hurts are so low across the board. It sounds like never bet against Vegas is what they say. And they have him coming down in passing yards, coming down in rushing yards, coming down in rushing touchdowns, and coming down in passing touchdowns.
That's not bad, though, because in 22, all the numbers were lower and you went to a Super Bowl because you ran the ball more.
Yeah, but they were higher than what they're set at right now. So the point is,
tell me what the numbers were. What does Vegas have him at passing yards?
It was 35-50.
No fucking way.
Let me pull it up real quick. John emailed me.
No way. 35.
Yeah, 35-50 and a half was the passing yards.
No way.
And he's eclipsed that the last 2 years.
No way.
I think this year is a 4K year for him, or right on the brink of it. I'm taking over on that. But that's where it's interesting is that they came down on everything, basically.
What about his touchdown numbers?
Touchdown what? Passing? You already said
passing.
It's 22 and a half. And then the rushing touchdowns was 9.5.
Well, shit, 22 and 9? That's what he had in his MVP season.
No, it's not. He had like 13 or 15 rushing touchdowns in that season.
Oh, okay. Oh, the rushing touchdowns came down. Okay, I had 22 passing touchdowns.
9.5 is low. He's had double digits all 3 years he was a starting quarterback.
Yeah, but I think that number's going to come down significantly too, because
I do too.
He's not going to run the ball 190 times.
But because of that, wouldn't you say that the passing numbers would go up? Well, they're not. Yeah. That's the interesting part is that they dropped them across the board. So basically, they're projecting that the ball is going to be out of Jalen Hurts' hands more this year. I don't know how to feel about that.
Telling you he's a one-year wonder with that kind of stuff.
I mean, you're right. I don't believe that to be true, but that is what they are. That does seem to be what they are insinuating.
How about this one? More snaps at right guard, Tyler Steen or the field?
I think the field here. I don't think Steen has earned this job. I know they want him to win it, and that means something, especially in Philadelphia, where there's a lot of manipulation of the roster. But I just think there's better options out there. I think even Mekhi Becton, even if he struggles a little bit, is a better long-term upside type of option. I'm going to take the field here just because I'm not sold on Steen. Now, if he gets to start in week 1, I'm going to look dumb because he's going to obviously win that out. But I'm going to go to the field here. I think Stoutland gets some of these other guys ready, namely Mekhi Becton, and he'll go from there. The other thing that John keeps bringing up that's a good point, they signed a right guard like June, randomly.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? It either tells you they hate the backup, They're not convinced that Steen is the guy. They want to bolster the whole position in case of an injury. I don't know what it could tell
Can
you.
I tell
There's
you
a
what it
lot you
tells
can
me?
make of.
They're going to use more of those guys as swing guys between with Steen. They're going to use Steen as the guy at right guard, but they're going to swing Micaiah Becton, and they may even swing Tyler. So they want more depth there too.
Right.
To be more, they probably signed a traditional right guard. Okay, because remember, Tyler Steen wasn't drafted
Sharpen.
as
It was
a right
Max
guard.
Sharpen. He has starts at right guard in the league. I think he has 30 starts.
See, he's a traditional right guard. And get this, Tyler Steen wasn't drafted as a right guard. He was a tackle in college at Alabama.
I know, that's what I mean. He's out. He's playing out of position right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean.
And Becton doesn't play guard. He was a tackle.
Yeah. I like Tennessee too, but boy, Johnny Mack liked Tennessee. And from what he saw at camp, he said he looked underwhelming at best. And that's my fear with him. And that might be why they added the
injuries.
Yeah, well, right. He had the injuries. And that's maybe why they added Max Sharping, because I think that they're just not feeling confident at that position. Give a bunch of arrows to Jeff Stoutland and one of them will stick. I think that's the philosophy they'll take him. Let's see what they do, though. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think that's why they signed that guard, because he's your traditional right guard who knows the position and knows the technique there.
Yeah,
how about this one? Nolan Smith, over under 3.5 sacks.
I got him an over, man. I think he has to be over, or else I'm gonna be putting him on the Zander milk carton. I know you had him on the milk carton a little bit. I'm gonna be putting him on the milk carton. If he can't get more than 3.5 sacks as a first-round draft pick in your second year, there's no more acclimating. There's no more my body wasn't ready yet for the NFL. Those are out the window, man. You were drafted to be as a first-round player to rush the passer. If you tell me you can't get home 3.5 to 4 times in your second year in the league, I think it's going to be cause for concern in Philly. And I brought up the point to you yesterday that I think was a good one. They drafted him and Jalen Carter in the same draft last year. Fletcher Cox retires. They didn't need to replace Fletcher Cox because Jalen Carter showed it. They needed to replace Haason Reddick because they could not put that in Nolan Smith's hands. And remember, Nolan Smith is the prototype for Haason Reddick. He's the undersized, fast edge rusher to get to the quarterback. He is built exactly like Haason Reddick. So when that guy hung him up or that guy left Philly, you would think, let's move our first rounder and right in there. They didn't do that. They went out and signed Bryce Huff. Now, the rebuttal to that is they probably would have needed another edge rusher anyway, right? Like a lot of people came into the season with Haason before we traded them and said, we still need another guy. So I get it from that perspective, but I think Nolan's got to show it this year, man. I think 6 sacks would be a good showing for him, and then you can start to get into that double-digit territory year 3 and year 4.
We're going to get a little bit more to that here. Here's another one. More defensive snaps. Isaiah Rodgers, Cooper DeJean, or Quinyon Mitchell, Keely Ringo? What group would you take?
I think you got to go Isaiah and Cooper because of the setup of the positioning. Keely's not going to play slot, and probably neither is Quinyon. So if Isaiah takes that outside spot, you could
There's more latitude with Cooper, you're
exactly.
saying.
There's more and Isaiah.
And
Isaiah could play outside and he could play inside. So just based on the latitude, like you said, the versatility of those players, I would take those two, but I would preferably have the other two because I think the other two have a chance to be our long-term outside cornerbacks in Philadelphia for a long time. That's an exciting thing. So I would like them to get more playing time.
Nakobe Dean leads the team in tackles. 2 games, over under.
2 games?
Yeah.
Shit. I want to say over, but is it over by default? Like if he's your starting middle linebacker, he's basically.
If you say under, it's over.
If you say under, it's over. You're right. You're right. It's over for Nakobe Dean. I'll go over. I'll go over just because I think if they're going to give him the chance, they're going to.
And I agree with John. They're going
to give him the chance. So if he starts at that middle linebacker position, even 6 games, I think he's going to lead the team in tackles for 2 or 3 of those games. Now, if you extrapolate that to a whole year, I think he's the leading tackler on the team maybe by the end of the year, or up there, at the top. So I'll take the over on that. But boy, it hurts saying that because I'm at the point where I don't believe in the player yet. I hope he proves me wrong, though.
Who has more sacks this coming season, Bryce Huff or Haason Reddick?
Shit. I want to say Bryce Huff, but I want to say Bryce Huff because I feel better about the overall defense over there in New York, where there could be a collective approach to this. Bryce Huff is going to have a chance. I mean, Bryce Huff had 10, just for context. Bryce Huff had 10 in New York as a backup. Played how many percent of the snaps? 30% of the snaps last year, or whatever it was?
25%. I thought
so maybe that's more of a case for Haason, right? If Bryce Huff got double digits over there as a 30% of the snap player, if Reddick plays 70% of the snaps, he might get 17, 18 sacks. Yeah, you might have to go Haason Reddick here. Yeah, I'm going to switch my answer. I'm going to go Haason Reddick.
Let me ask you something that hasn't been broached. Okay. So the Jets let Huff walk out the building. They didn't trade him. They turn around and they trade for Reddick. And they basically are paying him. Isn't it the reverse in New York? What happened in Philly with Reddick? And this, what I mean is, they didn't want to pay him $15 million or $17 million in New York.
They traded him and then signed a guy.
They basically said, I'd rather pay Reddick the money.
No,
so they paid him, and they allowed the other guy to kind of walk out the building, like when Haason walked out the building in Carolina. Why, if this guy is such a major talent, why would the Jets, who are looking for major talent, especially a defensive-minded guy in Robert Saleh, why would you just let that guy walk out of the building for no compensation?
Well, here's the other evaluation, right? There's the football evaluation, and then there's the business evaluation. Who would you rather do business like? The Jets gave up a pick and let their guy walk for nothing. The Eagles got a pick back and didn't give up any pick to sign the new younger guy.
Okay.
The Eagles do business the right way. That's the one element here you can't deny. Now, if Bryce Huff sucks.
But I'm paying for a guy that I know who he is. I'm not paying for a guy I'm not sure who he is. I mean, Haason Reddick has established himself in this league as a consistent pass rusher. There's only one other guy in the last 4 years with double-digit sacks, and that's Reddick. This guy has not established himself. So if I'm going to pay someone, I'm going to pay the established guy. Who would you rather pay? Guy coming out of college, do a sports talk show for you, Zander? Or a guy that's been doing it a billion years, kind of knows what he's doing? So, I mean, there's both sides. I'm not saying you're wrong, but the Jets looked at it like this. If I'm going to pay that kind of money, I'm going to pay money for an established dude more than I am for a guy I don't know what I'm looking at here.
That's fair, but the projection isn't off base for the Eagles. He had 10 sacks last year on 30% of plays. He was at top 5 in all 3 of these categories: pass rush win rate, pressure percentage, and I forget what the third one was. It was another one in regards to pressure. Maybe it was just overall pressures on quarterback.
Was it hits on the quarterback?
No, because he didn't play enough snaps for that. It was like a percentage thing where, based on how many plays he played, he won X amount of times per play.
Oh, he had a win rate.
I forget exactly.
It was a win rate.
It was a pass rush win rate, and then there was, I don't know if it was pressure rate or whatever it was, but he was top 5 in all those categories. So if you're going to say, if he wasn't that, then you could be like, well, why did the Eagles do that? But they made a projection based on those numbers, which is a fair thing to do. Now, if the player doesn't turn out, hindsight, you're going to be like, what a mistake. But you can't knock the process. It's like drafting, Devontae Smith. It's like, if he failed miserably, you wouldn't really knock the Eagles for it.
No.
You know what I mean? No. You'd be like, well, hey, I get why they took the guy.
No, took a swing.
I get why they signed Bryce Huff is what I'm getting at. So, you're right. It is a projection. He's not Haason Reddick, but I also wonder if Haason Reddick might be a little bit overrated by even us fans here in Philly because of how well he did for us. I mean, 4 teams in 5 years,
I still can't
There's
wrap
no
my
other
head around
team
that.
the Jets don't. Now the Jets made the trade for him. They don't even want to give him they don't even want to pay him.
I can't wrap my head around why you're on so many teams in 5 years.
I know, and that's where I'm like, I wonder if there's something else to the player that we're missing. You know, maybe it's something football related, maybe it's something locker room related.
Attitude.
Maybe the guy is just a jackass. I don't know. I'm not saying he is. I'm just speculating on what that could be, because 4 teams in 5 years or 6 years, whatever it is not good. I mean, great players don't do that.
No.
You know?
No.
Great players, that doesn't happen to great players.
It's 3 teams in 5 years.
No, because he
walked out of Arizona,
3 years.
he walked out of Carolina, and he's been in Philly for 2. Now he's with the Jets. So
that's 4 teams.
That's 4 teams in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of teams, brother.
And for all that production,
I know. That's why I wonder if there's more than meets the eye on the Haason Reddick situation. Look, I feel good about Johnny Mack. Admittedly, Johnny Mack has made me feel better about Bryce Huff because he's brought out some of the numbers and has showed me why he thinks it's going to work out well for them. And he's doing that in an objective, unbiased way. So I feel a little bit better about Bryce Huff, but you're still right. I mean, you got rid of the proven guy and you picked up a potential guy. So it may or may not work for the Eagles, but the business move of it was a sound move, I would say.
How many playoff wins over under 1 this year?
We got to do 1.5, right? If I go under, they got none. If you go, shit, you're going 1 with me?
Yep. It is 1.5.
I think
it is 1.5. I went 1.
Well, if you go, yeah, so I'm going over. If it was 1.5, I might say under. I might even go over there because I think we're going to make a run this year. I think we're built to make a run. I feel much better about the coordinators when it comes to, figuring out how to get things moving when they might become stale. So I'm going to go over here, especially over the 1. I'll take over on the 1.
I think over 2.
If they don't, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Me and you will be talking about an entirely new looking team next year, new staff, new coaches.
And the quarterback will be on the hottest seat in the league.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yep.
I put down some, by the way, these aren't predictions.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Okay. This is what I'm expecting. Now, this isn't just a starting 11. I put guys who are going to contribute in here. Okay. And by the way, you got to remember, some of these guys are on 1-year contracts, prove-it deals like Milton Williams here. So I'm going to start there. I wrote down this for Milton: 50+ tackles, 8 sacks.
50 tackles, 8 sacks for Milton.
And by the way, if he produces that, he'll be.
So that's your expectation, not your prediction, right?
Right. That's my expectation at that position. And if he does that, he'll be between a $15 to $20 million guy in the open market.
So you got 50 total, not solo, right?
Total.
And last year he had a half a sack. You have him at 8 sacks, brother?
Well, last year he was more of a swing guy. Now he's going to be a starter.
Well, he's going to be a starter depending on what front they're running. If they're running a 4-man front, he's not going to be a starter. So
who's your other end? You're really going to put Huff and Nolan on the field?
No, not Nolan. You're going to do Josh Sweat.
Who's your other? You're going to put Sweat, and who's the other end? Huff?
I guess Huff, right? Or Brandon Graham. Maybe you're right. I mean, maybe he will play more of that outside, but I don't see 8 sacks for Milton Williams, dude. I got him. I would say maybe 4 or 5 sacks for him and maybe 50 tackles. I like 50 tackles. I think maybe even 50, 60 tackles, depending on how much more playing time he gets. But I don't like the sack number. I do not see him getting 8 sacks.
See, I got these guys in a 30 front, not a 40 front. Jordan Davis. I said this: 39+ tackles and 3 sacks. And I'd be happy with that.
39 tackles and 3 sacks. What's that?
At nose.
Yeah, why 39?
39+.
Okay, well, last year he had 45.
Because when you play nose, you're taking 3 guys on. The chances for you on being able to be a guy that's going to have a lot of opportunities at volume of tackles is limited. Like Vita Vea and Vince Wilfork, those guys didn't have gigantic numbers.
Yeah, but he had 45 tackles last year.
But he was in a 4 front.
Well, yeah, but he still played a little bit of that nose guard in certain looks, not
In the
as much.
second half of the season, he did.
And he had 2.5 sacks last year. I think you're a little low on him. I'm gonna go around the 50 tackle mark for him, and I think 4 sacks maybe, but I don't care if he doesn't get it, if that makes sense.
I think if he's around that, we're good.
Well, I would certainly say that, especially if he's eating up 2-3 blockers every single play. I mean, what's Jalen Carter going to get if Jordan Davis has become a force on the inside? Think about that.
Speaking of him,
And then if you're going to opt to double Jalen Carter instead, now you have a center blocking 336-pound Jordan Davis. Yeah, good luck with that one.
I thought he was more 348, but okay. If
He
you're
might
going to
be.
give
You're right. I mean, 336 is what it says online, but those numbers sometimes aren't always right.
Jalen Carter, I got 60-plus tackles and 9-plus sacks. I think this guy is going to be an all-pro this year.
I like that. That's a good projection there. 60 tackles, 9 sacks. I'm right on there with you. I would say 60 to 65 would be a great number for him. That'd be a lot of tackles for him. I mean, last year he had 33 total tackles and 6 sacks. So I'm going to project he goes double digit on sacks this year. I think he gets to that 10 number, kind of like Javon Hargrave did a couple years ago for us.
Bro, when you're a double digit sack guy interior, inside,
you're incredible. Yeah.
Sue did it once.
Got it
early in his career in Detroit.
Suplex says Jordan was 350 at OTAs. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Yeah, you're right, though, man. If he gets double-digit sacks in that inside, get ready because he's going to be backing up a Brinks truck. And I think he's going to anyway, but yeah.
Okay, because you talked, and John, about the forefront, I have an edge here in Josh Sweat. I know you. I heard Josh. I heard John say it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not that down on him. I got 50-plus tackles and 7 sacks with Josh Sweat.
7 sacks is a good number, I guess. He had 6.5.
The year before, he had 11. How many did he have last year?
Last year, he had 6.5.
Okay, so in the last 2 years, he's got 17.5 sacks. You hate that?
No, I don't hate it, but I mean, how do you go from? Well, I guess what happened last year? I mean, he played too much
volume. Too much volume and snaps.
He played an extra game last year and had almost half the sacks he had in 22.
How about this? Well, what did the guy do on the other side? Did he help him?
Well, Haason Reddick, had 11 sacks last year, right?
What did Brandon Graham do?
Brandon Graham had
19 tackles and like 1 sack or 2 sacks last year. That entire left side lost like 18 sacks last year. Think about that. That left side had a guy with 17 sacks and the other guy had like 11. Well, it went down to 11 and he had 2. You lost 18 sacks on that side of the ball. That's a ton, dude.
Yeah. BG went from 11 to 3 last year. So it's almost like
dude, you lost 17 sacks.
Yeah, we need a lot of these guys to return to their 2022 form in a way, Bryce
Huff, 30-plus tackles and 11-plus sacks.
I got him at more sacks than that. Did you hear my segment with John, by the way?
I didn't hear your prediction on what you thought he would put up.
Okay, so we were getting into Bryce Huff, and this is kind of where, John shocked me a little bit. I know the Vegas, these are not the Vegas numbers. So if anybody's out there and they want to go and like bet on it or whatever, this is not the number. But we were doing this exercise and I said to John, if I set the over under at 14.5 sacks on Bryce Huff, what would you take? He went over.
No way.
He thinks he's a 15 sack player this year in this system. But Dan, if you think about it, he had 30% of the snaps last year on a shitty team. Now I know they had a great defense, but he's going to be the main guy here in Philly, and he had 10 sacks last year. So if he doubles his snap numbers here in Philly, he might get 15 sacks, depending on how, and especially if Jalen Carter has the type of season we're projecting, a double-digit sack season, a 9-sack season, Bryce Huff's going to be freed up a lot on that outside, man. It's possible that he gets 15 sacks. I'm not saying he's going to. I would take the under on 14.5. But I'm definitely taking the over on 11. I think it's closer to 12, 13 should be the projection. And what tackles did you say for him?
30 plus, because he's only got 26.
I would say closer to 50 or 40 or 50 for that. I think he's just because of the bigger role this year. But look, he's going to have to, man. I mean, how many tackles did Fletcher Cox have last year? How many tackles did, Haason Reddick have last year? These things are going to need to be picked up by these guys on the front, man.
Well, I'm going to tell you why those guys are here. Let me try to put this as simple as I can. Okay, so if you're used to running a 100-meter dash and you're used to running a sprint, and all of a sudden someone comes to you and says, hey, you're going to run a 200 tomorrow. Do you think you need to run a couple more of those 200s and learn how to get into shape with reps and go into tournaments and events to be able to do the 200-meter? You're asking this guy to go from being a sprinter where they put him in a situation where he's not conditioned. He's never been conditioned to play over 500-600 snaps.
Dude, you're making $17 million and we're giving him 6-month offseason. What the hell are you
I don't give a fuck what the money is. If you don't have that conditioning and repetition in you.
Yeah, but your comparison was
I'm comparing he's not a starter. He's never been conditioned to go that length of time. You just got through giving shit to Josh Sweat because he had too many reps. This guy has not had enough reps.
You don't think 6 months of the offseason, you don't think if Bryce Huff isn't out there working on that right now?
Playing condition shape. Let me tell you what just to give it to you, Eric Dickerson told me when he got into the league his freshman year, or his rookie year in the league, and he gained 1,800 yards. He goes like this. By the time the end of the season came, I had not been conditioned to run the ball 375 times. I had to get myself in such fucking amazing shape for the next year where I could carry the ball 405 times and not get worn out by the end of the year. I had to have myself physically and mentally in shape for the amount of volume of reps that I'm going to take. Zander, that's a thing, dude. You saw Jalen Carter run out of gas. You see Jordan Davis run out of gas. You know why you didn't see Jordan?
Bryce Huff been in the league.
But you know why you didn't see Fletcher run out of gas like that? He's a pro. He knows how to play, and he's conditioned over 13 years how to prepare himself for a season. That's a true thing.
I know it's a true thing. I know it's a valid concern, but I'm not giving him an excuse for that. That's not a valid excuse for you to not perform. I'm sorry. You're getting the bag. You have 6 months in the offseason. I know it's not exactly as the game, but you can't sit here and tell me there's not anything you can do to get up to game speed, to get conditioned for the game. It's the same thing we're saying with Jordan Davis. He's got to get better. We're expecting him to do it without games being played, right? Same thing with Bryce Huff. You got to be ready to play a bigger role. He knows that. It's not like we're going to wake up on September 5th and be like, hey, buddy, you're going to play, double the amount of snaps this year.
Dude,
he knows that. He knows that right now on July 3rd.
Running 3 miles is not the same as playing 200 reps in a game. It's just not the same, man.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying it's not a good excuse for him. So I understand the concern. I see where you're coming from. It's 100% valid and warranted. I'm not buying it in terms of giving him excuse, right? Okay. I'm not going to change my projections because of that. You got to perform, man. You got paid. You got paid more probably than any other team would have given you based on 1 year of good production. It's time to put up or shut up. And I think he's going to put up.
My projection on Devin White is 100+ tackles and 4 sacks.
Holy shnikes.
Well, eventually you've got to replace Kaiser White and TJ Edwards. Both those guys, one guy had 117, the other guy had 159. Someone's got to start to replace that. I mean,
all right. So what do you have that? You had 100+ and what?
100+ tackles and 4 sacks.
I like that. I like that. That makes sense. The three of his 5-year career, he's had north of 120. 2020, he had 140. Last year on just 14 games played, he had 83. So if he's your starting backer, he's going to get 100. I like your projection. Now, Seth Joyner, linebacking savant, arguably a Hall of Famer, should be a Hall of Famer, Eagle Hall of Famer, Eagle legend, host for JAKIB Sports. He says it all the time. Not all tackles are created equal, especially at linebacker. If I'm 6 yards deep, Shit,
Okay.
man. Great. I'm happy you got 100 tackles, but you didn't make a difference in the game.
And I still 32nd against the run.
Exactly.
Hey, if I have 170 tackles on the – hey, I made 172 tackles this year. What was the team ranking against the run? 32nd. Shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you playing strong safety?
But look, if he gets 100 tackles, I think that's a success, I would say. I can't wait to hear the Kobe Dean one. Yeah, let's go.
Dean or other. I got 90 plus and 2 sacks. Someone's got to take the job, dude.
90 tackles for Dean?
Yeah. I mean, because get this. Like we said about the other day, if Dean doesn't have 90 tackles this year, third-round pick, it's fucking over.
If he doesn't get 90 tackles and he's your starting middle linebacker, you got problems.
It's over.
You got problems. So I think it's over 100, to be honest, if he plays the whole year. Now, if something happens or they're rotating a lot and Devin's playing some middle and he's playing some middle,
Trotter comes in.
Right, some of that stuff, maybe you'll see 90, but if he's going to be your start, let's just assume for a second he stays healthy, okay, for the sake of the conversation. He better have more than 100 tackles as the middle linebacker of this team. If you're going to play 17 ball games as the middle linebacker and you're not getting – Alex Singleton had 150 tackles. So that's a position where you're going to get a lot of tackles, especially if you're starting. I would say that if Jakobi plays, he will eclipse those numbers. I don't know about the sack, though.
Isn't it crazy? One of the only people that you have not been able to replace in the last 2 years has been TJ Edwards.
Yep.
159 tackles, and what that guy brought to your team. Now, here's Nolan Smith.
Wait. To add to that point, you know who's the second or third ranked linebacking group by PFF in the NFL going into 2020?
Chicago.
And you know who's the leader of that linebacking core?
TJ Edwards. Absolutely.
Here we are sitting at 30th.
You developed him for Chicago.
And here we are.
They got rid of Roquan Smith, and they're the third best unit in the league now.
And that's where I'm like, look, man, we're sitting at 30th in the league, and we had the dude that's the anchor of the number 2 ranked team, and he made $7 million. It's not like he got a $100 million contract. That's the one that got away from Howie, in my opinion. The Hunt kid will beat out Dean. You got Jalix Hunt playing middle linebacker disciple. I don't think that's happening.
How about this one? Here we go. Nolan Smith, 60 plus tackles, 8+ sacks.
That's lofty.
Now, again, this isn't my prediction. This is my expectation. 30th pick in the draft. Let's go, kid.
That's a lot. See, I understand what you're saying, where expectations and predictions are two different things, right? My expectation is not that yet on Nolan Smith. I would say it's going to go to 6+ sacks this year, maybe 40, 50 tackles. And then year 3, I'm going double digit. I want 10 sacks out of you. You got to be a heavy duty pass rusher that can get to the quarterback, that strikes fear in your opponent. And then you're at 60+ tackles at that position. So I'm not ready to go there yet with him, and the Eagles have lowered my expectations for him just based on the moves they made, right? They brought in Bryce Huff. They kept Josh Sweat around. They're obviously not ready to give him that full-time role on the outside. So I'm going to temper my expectations with him because of that. I got around 40 and 6, I would say, with him.
Now for the secondary, I haven't seen them shuffle this thing out yet, so I don't know. So I wrote these guys down. I wrote this guy for Quinyon Mitchell, 48+ tackles and 3 sacks.
48 tackles and 3 sacks. Let me look at
what. Can you do me a favor? What were Slay's tackle numbers last year? I want to see where.
I'll get that for you. Give me one.
Where he was a year ago when it comes to tackles, because again, I don't know if he's going to be the starter, if he's going to be.
He's hovering right at 50 every year for the last 5 years.
Okay, well, that's what a corner usually
59,
gets.
52, 55, 57 last year.
That's what a corner gets. And now he hangs around 48 plus with 3 picks. He's going to be all rookie.
He's going to be all rookie for sure. 3 picks would be great out of Quinyon.
It's one more than what you got out of Bradbury last year.
Yeah, and Slay. Slay only had 2 last year.
Right.
So, Yeah, that'd be good. I would be very happy with that. I think for Quinyon Mitchell,
I
very
think the
happy.
Eagles would be exceptionally happy
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Gardner Johnson. I got 78 plus tackles, 3 picks.
78 tackles, 3 picks.
Yeah.
That's
Last
not
year,
bad.
remember, you missed the entire season a year
Last
ago.
year, he basically missed the entire year. So if you go back to his 22 season when he did miss a couple games for us as well, but only played 12 games. Boy, he's got a health problem, man. Even 21, he only played 12 games. So last 3 years, 12 games played, 12 games played, 3 games played. That's a major problem. But just going back to 22 with us, remember he had that huge interception year, 6 interceptions.
6, led the league.
Led the league with only 12 games played, but he had 67 total tackles. And then what did you say? What were your numbers for him this year?
78 plus and 3 picks.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. If he can play 17 ball games, I would say even closer to 80, maybe on the.
Do you know why I put it up a little higher? Because you're paying him 8.
You're paying him 8, and he's that type of player. Like even if we went to Keely Ringo first, and we might get there, but even if we went to him, I would have him at bigger tackle numbers than Quinyon and Slay, because I think he is a physical player. He's a bigger corner. He's not an undersized corner at all. Slay is very smaller bodied. So I would say Keely's going to be a guy that probably leads your, if he plays, if he's a starter, will lead your cornerbacks in tackles.
I got Blankenship at 80 plus tackles and 2 picks.
80 plus tackles and 2 picks
out of the free safety spot.
Okay, last year he did he had 79 wow, no, he had 113 total, 79 solo tackles. 3 interceptions last year. Oof. Reed Blankenship's kind of slept on, honestly. That's pretty damn good, man. 113 total.
I think he's 80 plus.
80 plus on solo?
80 plus total, because I don't know.
He had 113 last year. Why are you going 80?
Wait, they didn't have the depth they have this year. So
but he's going to be your starting safety. He's going to be your starting safety with CJ Gardner. Why? That's not a problem. Yeah, suplex, 100%. Ringo is huge for a cornerback. He's like Richard Sherman. Exactly, man. I like that player a lot. But back to Reed. Look at those numbers as a starter, brother. 113.
Okay.
3 interceptions, a fumble recovery, 79 solo tackles.
And they were 31st, what you just told me, in pass defense.
Yeah, but they built, the defense is looking better around him now. He had a good year, but
he bring those numbers down, though, because of opportunities, too. If you're better up front and you're making more tackles, you're not. Hey, he was making a ton of tackles. Why? Because they were not stopping the run late. See, that number has to come down below the 100. That tells you the people up front are making plays.
So you think the linebackers are going to
plays on the third level?
You think the linebackers are going to make enough plays that Ed Reed Blankenship is going to go down and tackle?
You better. I mean, because you haven't replaced Reed Blankenship. Yeah, okay. How about this one? Darius Slay, 55 tackles and 3 picks.
Perfect.
33 years old.
Yeah, if he goes down, you're going to start to see because of that age. So I think that's a perfect projection on him, and that's about what I would say as well.
Okay. Keely Ringo, I got 70 plus tackles and 2 picks.
I love it. That's exactly what I would say. Like I said, he's the more physical corner. He's bigger, not afraid of contact, physical at the line of scrimmage, just a good all-around corner. I think I am very high on Keely Ringo. I watched him dominate the SEC when he was in college, came to the league as a very, very young player. The guy's only 21 still right now. So very young player, big, physical, mature. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be our best cornerback for years to come. I really do. I think there's a better chance he replaces Slay than Quinyon.
Couple last ones here. Cooper DeJean. I got 65 plus tackles because of his versatility and 2 picks. Because you may see him in the slot and at the corner position.
How many tackles did you have for him?
65.
Yeah, that's good. That might be a little high.
I don't know how they're shuffling this out.
Yeah, it's tough to project these guys because we got no idea right now on what they're going to do. But if he does play, I think that's a pretty good projection by you.
Let me just put that there. If he puts that up there, he'll be in conversation for the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and if Quinyon, I mean, based on your projections, you got two rookies of the year. Yeah.
Well, Look at where you drafted him. I mean, we're talking about people that you're expecting things from. Fangio's playing a 34 limited linebacker depth. Yeah, that's why what Zander is telling me that John McMullen is saying.
Wait, let me put that back up. I want to, Sydney, I'm going to give you a shameless plug real quick for something if you have time and if you're up to go and watch it. Johnny Mac and I did a defensive masterclass, and it's titled on the YouTube channel. If you go back and find it, I will find it, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it's titled because it is worth your watch for anyone. John McMullen gives masterclass on Eagles defensive scheme. It was a May 13th edition, and then there was also a part 2 on May 14th. It's 44 minutes long. Johnny Mack gives a perfect explanation on why saying this is a 3-4 defense just doesn't make sense. It's not what Vic Fangio does. It's a shallow interpretation of what his defense is going to be. I would love for you to go and watch it. I think you'll enjoy it very much. But you're right. If they're in 3-4, our linebackers suck.
Isaiah Rodgers, I got 60-plus tackles. That may be a reach. And 3 picks.
That's a reach. The guy can't tackle. He's undersized, not aggressive, not physical. Great coverage guy. I like him for that, but he's not your tackling savant. You better hope he's not your last line of defense if somebody breaks through the linebackers. You better hope, because he's not a great tackler, especially in open space. All the numbers. I mean, I think
you think he's more of a nickel guy?
I think he'd be better served there. But apparently he said on someone's show I don't know if can someone confirm or deny in the chat. I thought I saw somebody talking about that. Somebody said that he said on a show, I don't know where it was. Maybe it was with our buddy Thomas Mott. I think he appeared on their show. Or Josh Davis's, or whatever that. Sorry, I forgot that guy's name, Josh something, who has a great Philly special show. He appeared on one of them. I think he said he wants to be an outside cornerback. So I think he's better served in the slot near and long term, but it might not matter. I don't see the long term with him just based on how much resources the Eagles have at that position. I mean, they're not going to keep him around. He's going to be 27 next year after this season, or 28. They're not going to keep him around over Keeley, Quinion, and Cooper. So, I don't know. We'll see what it was. We'll see what he ends up doing. I don't see 60 tackles for him, though.
Last 2. Will this defense be top 5, top 10, top 15 versus the run?
Versus the run, that's a different question. I think they should. You know what they were last year off the top of your head?
I know for the first part of the season, they were in the top 5. Then that thing blew up towards the end of the year, and I think they trickled out of it to like the 12 or something like that, or 13. But they had built so much equity up, so I really couldn't tell, because the last couple games of the year, Zander, they just weren't very good against the run. They were giving up 140 yards. We were talking about it constantly on the post-game show.
They were middle of the pack last year. Looks like they were middle of the pack last year. They were bottom of the bottom. No, wait, they were top 10. They were top 10 last year. 3, 6. They were 10th. So they were 10th in the league in rushing yards last year, given up. Yeah, I'd say top 10, because I think you want to see an improvement there. I know you lost Fletcher Cox, who was not that wasn't his specialty, but he was good in it. He was a good, player in that. I think you're going to improve with Jordan Davis, and I think Jalen Carter can do it as well. He's a versatile player, big enough, smart enough, understands how to play the position when you need to in certain moments. I'd say top 10. If we can get to like 7 or 8, I think that'd be great, but I more care about the passing defense, to be honest with you. We were 31st in the league last year. That's just unacceptable. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with the 31st ranked pass defense in the league. It's a pipe dream. So we need that to come up. You can win a Super Bowl being 12th ranked rush defense. You can't win a Super Bowl being the 31st ranked pass defense in the league. That's completely abysmal. We need that number to get better.
I'll take 15th.
I'll take 15 too. That's what I mean. If it means it, but I'll only take it.
Well, let me get to this one here.
Okay.
Pass defense. Year before, you were 2nd. Last year, you were 31st. What do you look at this pass defense to be? Top 5, top 10, top 15, bottom 3rd? Where do you see this team?
I think you got to get, I think, top 15, top 18, somewhere in that range. I mean, if you're top 20, I'll be happier, but you're not going to be happy with that. But it's tough to project because last year we had Bradbury and Slay. This year we're going to have Slay and a guy that's never played consistently in the NFL. So it's tough to project you're going to make that type of a jump. Now you added CJ Gardner, who should help it a little bit. Let's hope he can stay healthy. Reed Blankenship was already in there. Maybe he looks better with better people around him. I think you want to be top 15. I would say you want to be top. If this is a Super Bowl team, if you have Super Bowl aspirations, I think you want to be top 10. But I don't know if we have the talent for that. So I'm going to say top 15.
If the Philadelphia, I said 15 too. If the Eagles are 15 in total defense, run and
I think that's
pass,
a win. Yeah, that's a win.
they'll go to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
with that offense. With that offense?
No, because you can't just factor that the offense is going to be successful. And I've said this many times. Look, I wasn't a fan of our defense last year either. But damn, we scored 9 points in our playoff game, man. 9.
Okay.
9.
You had a bad year and you were 8th.
My point is, even if the defense was the best defense in the league in that game, you were not winning that playoff game.
Do you think if your defense was ranked 15th total last year, how far would you have gone even with the stumbling of the offense? I say you would have made it to the NFC title game.
It's so hard to do this because if the defense was better, maybe the offense doesn't sputter as much because they don't have as many 3-and-outs. The defense gets them off the field.
Better field position.
Exactly. All those things. So it's very tough to compare. But all I'm saying is the defense isn't – we got corrections to do on offense too. Like, I know we added Saquon, and I feel great too, and situational football matters a lot. But if you're going to go into a playoff game and think you're going to win with 9 points on the board because you have a good defense, we're sadly mistaken. So my point is the defense got to get better too, but the offense has to show it. The offense has to be more consistent. The offense can't be predictable. The offense can't drop a categoric dud when the lights are the brightest.
That's a fact. Very good stuff here, man. Really, even though we're like 3 weeks out to camp. I heard you guys talking the Jets are 2 weeks out here. Hey, I heard you also say this, and it lit a fire under me because as a young kid, man, the Giants, like your dad, I was a Giant fan when I was a kid because of my uncle and all that shit. And when I watched that thing, Hard Knocks, last night with Joe Schoen,
yeah,
I was so embarrassed for that guy. He goes, I'm not paying Daniel Jones $40 million to hand off to a $12 million back. And I go, he's trying to justify Barkley walking out the building and you not getting anything for him. And I was like this, dude, that is the biggest stupid shit. You think that they looked at the $20 million paycheck that they gave Christian McCaffrey when they made that deal for him, and they're going to pay that guy $65 million. You think they're not going to try to keep McCaffrey and Purdy together? How dumb can you get? Play action passes based. I think Dak Prescott's going to struggle mightily, dude, because of the lack of play action because he doesn't have a running back.
Yeah, it's true.
That thing was a train wreck last night. The Giants are pathetic, man. They might be the worst run organization in football.
Yeah, Giants are a joke. You know what else is funny? You listen to that one video where the one guy's talking to him about Saquon and they're asking about the other things. I'm like, why did none of these guys seem more qualified to do this than anybody here in our chat box? Like they were just making regular. Now, maybe it's just the TV or whatever, but I'm like, none of these guys in that room impressed me in the slightest, Joe Schoen included. So interesting. But this guy, Disciple, says, who's the secondary coach? There's two of them, basically. Christian Parker, who's really a pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach. And then you have Roy Anderson, who's your cornerbacks coach. Both of them are really impressive guys. Christian Parker, if you heard Christian, I don't know
They're
if
Vic Fangio guys too.
Yeah, but Christian Parker, when he spoke, he was the one assistant coach that I listened to and walked away from that. And I was like, wow, that guy's good. I like that guy. That guy's got a future in the league as a bigger coach than he is now. Now, it doesn't mean that much. They got to play, but that's who it is. And I think he's going to be a good addition to the staff.
The most important question as we close out, is Zander Krause a Shores fireworks guy, or do you go to a place fire your own off, or do you go to a place that is designated by the family, the Krause family, to go? And by the way, tell your mom and your sister, the Cowboys it's a theatrical show. It's like a Broadway play. It's not really football. Okay? I mean, I get it and all that, but so for 4th of July, are you a Shore guy watching the fireworks?
We are a Shore Town family. Now, I have a funny story about this specifically. When I was a youngster, and granted, I grew up very blessed. My grandmother bought a house in Cape May, New Jersey. For anybody that's familiar with the Jersey Shore, back in 1978, she bought that home for like $50,000 or whatever it was, back when things were affordable. And at the time, that was expensive. But still, we still own the home today. I've been going there every summer, basically my entire life. So we do it there. But when I was a kid, we would buy fireworks illegally at the time. And we would go and we would find a little spot on some hidden beach. And the one year, I remember we were lighting them off, me and my cousins and my uncle, and the cops come rolling in with the flashlights, because you're not allowed to set them off in a town, especially a town like Cape May. So no, we are a beach firework family. I'm not Jason Pierre-Paul and my fingers, big kills. I can't do it. It's not my specialty, lighting off fireworks.
Here's my impression of Jason Pierre-Paul. There you go. How you doing?
Yeah, so I don't do the firework thing. You know what's funny? When I went to Alabama, people down there love fireworks.
Because they sell the fireworks on the side of the road, and it's legal.
We would come back. We would come back from school, right, after like Christmas break and stuff. And all the dudes that we were your buddies with are like, open up their trunk and they got shit ton of fireworks because it's on the way down there. And I'm like, Jesus, Garmany. But so I saw a lot of it down in Alabama, which was pretty funny. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. A lot of people giving me a lot. Cape May, guys, Cape May's classy. Cape May's beautiful. That's where my pops lives. That is my dream living, folks. If I can make this company work and I can buy my house in Cape May, I will be good. I will talk to you guys about the Eagles all day long from the comfort of Cape May. It's my favorite place to be on the earth. I absolutely love Cape May. So happy you guys know about it.
You better make this fucker work, because I'm looking
to work at.
I want to be
It's working, but Cape May prices are pretty pricey, my friend.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the Hamptons, guy.
That's what my brother likes. My brother works in New York City. Now he likes Cape May too, but
I'm looking at Montauk and like
you want to be you want to be in the Hamptons with the stuffy New Yorkers. Those stuffy motherfuckers who think their shit doesn't stink.
I'm going to take Montauk where my aunt used to go with my.
I'm going to take neither. You have fun in Montauk.
Oh man, I love Cape Cod, man. Cape Cod is pretty awesome.
Cape Cod's cool. Cape Cod, cool.
You know, is absolutely great. I love the 4th of July too. Zander, great stuff, bro. Thank you again, man. By the way, folks, we are going to be off until Monday. Is that right, Zander?
Yeah, off till Monday, everybody. So no shows tomorrow, no shows Friday. I appreciate everybody in this chat. I know I tell Bird 365, but we have a little bit of a different audience here. I love everybody, man. They crack me up. They bring great comments all the time. Just the best listeners in the world. They make me feel great. I love talking to them every single day about this team. It's such a blessing. I hope everybody has an amazing 4th of July. Big Sills, I hope you have an amazing 4th of July. We appreciate all of you guys for being here so consistently. You guys are the best. So thank you. Hope you have a great next couple days. Next week, baby. We're getting ready to ramp up, Big Sills.
Man, we're
couple weeks away, man. Couple weeks away.
When we get back, you know how the airplane gets on the runway and you turn the airplane and you're getting ready to go down the runway?
It's right
this
there,
thing's
baby.
Getting ready to go down the runway here. Yeah. So hit the like button, guys, and keep it here on the National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.